And we are back. Another outstanding episode of the Square Table Degenerates. Today we welcome to the show from deep in the Alaskan jungle. It's Dog Musher extraordinaire, Dr. Robert Forto. How are you today, sir?
I am well, Joe. How are you? I know it's the middle of winter in both of our neck of the woods, but it's about -2 up here. I guess it's a little warmer down there.
Yeah, it's not -2. It's just 24 in the old machine here, so it's not too bad. I think it's probably the coldest it's been in a while. And we were just talking before we got on air about the snow in Erie and Western New York and Conneaut, Ashtabula, Ohio. Stay. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you anything that's not obvious. I mean, just enjoy the fucking whatever you got stuck in your house with, I guess. I mean, it's not much you can do when you got 5 feet of snow out there.
Right.
Fuck, man. It's great. So first off, congratulations on the doctoralship. We'll get into some of that later. But for those who don't know, he's just got awarded his doctorate. We'll get into some of that. We're gonna be here for a little bit. We'll have some fun. We're gonna have some fun with. Now, do you go by Robert all the time? Do you go by Bob, Bobby? What do you go by?
I usually go by Robert.
All right, we'll keep it with Robert. That's the thing with Robert, man. You can go by like 8 different names. There's Robert, there's Rob, there's Robbie, then there's Bob, Bobby. You can go by Bo, even. You know what I mean? There's like 6, 7 different names, bro. It's a versatile name. I know a lot of Roberts.
Yeah, you can even go by Bert if you wanted to, I guess.
That's true. You can go by Berto. You know, it's great, man. It's great. All right, so let's take the time machine back. All right, let's get in the DeLorean here. It says you had military parents. You were born like a military family, right? So you were like born during the Vietnam War. Is it like, the movie Jarhead? Was that like your birth? Or were they not in the service then? Describe like how you started out and like your earliest childhood memories.
Well, let's see. I was born in 1971, so about 53 years old. I was born pretty close to where you're at. I was born in Huntington, West Virginia, so in the Appalachian area of the country, and was there till I was about 2nd grade or so. Then mom got divorced and hooked up with her high school sweetheart, who was the military guy. And we quickly went from there in the mid-Atlantic region to North Carolina and all abouts. He was in the United States Marines. So we got our way around and moved every 3 or 4 years or so until college. I went to college in Portland, Oregon, and as they say, the rest is history. But yeah, great childhood growing up, and it was quite interesting for sure.
Okay, now what was so it sounds like he was a career military. Your stepdad was career military. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, he got out as a major. He was an engineer in the Marines. Didn't see any combat. He was a little bit too young for Vietnam and a little bit too old for everything after that, the Gulf War and all that.
Okay, now did you have any like fond memories of a particular base when you were growing up? Like, oh, I like my time at Lejeune, or were they kind of just all the same as a young kid? What was your take on that?
A lot of them were quite the same. I know we did live in Havelock, North Carolina when I was really young, and that was a big fighter jet spot for the Marines. So they would buzz our house at 15 feet above the roof, and it was just so loud when you're 5 or 6 years old. The windows would shake and the plates would rattle, and it was a fun time for sure.
Okay, now growing up in that military style environment, did you find it hard to maintain friendships? I mean, most people in the military are changing stations every 2, 3, 4 years, something like that. Was it back in these pre-internet days? Was that? How did you keep friends back then?
It was tough. It's interesting now that I connected with all those people in high school on Facebook like 20 or 30 years later. That's when it all came about. And I said, man, this is who this guy is, who's now 50 years old. I haven't seen since he was 15 or 16. Everybody's fat and bald now, but it was fun to reconnect. But no, you know how it goes back in the early days. You didn't keep up. If you moved on, you pretty much didn't see those guys anymore.
Right. Unless you wanted to call long distance for 20 cents a minute or whatever the hell it was back then. I remember because we lived in Chicago for a while, and then we moved back to Cleveland when I was like 10. And I still have friends in Chicago, and I could never call until it was like, I can't remember the exact time, like 7. I think it was after 7. You call, and it was a discounted rate, and that was the only way to get hold of them. There's no email. You could write letters, I guess, but fuck, that took forever. That's crazy to think about that, right?
Right. I remember getting phone cards for Christmas in your stocking, the long distance prepaid phone cards. You'd get those in your stocking so you could call grandma or whoever. Otherwise, it was so expensive back in the day.
those phone cards are what killed payphones, man. For those under 30, probably don't remember payphones, but you used to have to put a quarter in a phone. And then they started coming out with these, like Robert said, prepaid phone cards. It was just like a little credit card. You'd have a 1-800 number and be like, thank you for connecting with MCI, long distance, or whatever. You just enter the code and you can get it in. And they would offer it cheaper than a quarter. And that just totally killed itself with that. And then obviously, how it went. But it's funny how we used to talk back then. And now it's like, I just don't talk to me on the phone ever. It's like, because we're always multitasking, it's like, if I'm talking on the phone, the wife's like, who's that? All the time, no matter who it is. And even if it's something mundane, I don't talk on the phone to nobody important. I get just friends. It's usually somebody's side. But it's like, that's why I think it's just, messaging is just so much faster. It's crazy to think like that. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Live text says the operator says 30 cents for the next 3 minutes. We used to do the thing we used to, I'm sure, I don't know if you did this, but we used to you could call collect, but there would be a little recorded thing. They'd be like, please say your name. And then I'd say like, Joe, come pick me up or whatever. And then okay. And then the parents would get, you're going to have a collect call from Joe, come pick me up. And then, they just come get me or I'd really quick. They used to have the number on the phone and I used to rattle off the number and my mom would just hang up and they'd call back and call me on the phone that was there.
Yeah. That's how we did it. That was before the pager days and all of that. But yeah, that's how you used to pick us up at the skating rink and all that stuff back in the day.
Yes, sir. We got a question from Dave. He says, can you ask Robert what fur makes the warmest hat?
I have a seal fur hat. We have a couple of those with otter and gray wolf on it. By far the warmest hat in the world. It's a little bit too hot if it's above 0.
Okay. Good. Keep that in mind. Yeah, I've never the coldest weather. The coldest weather I think I've ever been. Well, the coldest it's been in Cleveland is like -20. That was 20, 30 years ago. And when it gets that cold up here, we don't leave the house. You might if you're going, you might leave the house to the car, and then that's it. You don't. It's not like you stay outside. We're there for last year. The Browns played the Packers in a December game, and it was like -2 or 3 like that. So that was fun staying outside for that. But it's not something you normally hang out outside with all day. But we'll get into some of that because Robert here. Obviously got to be an expert in staying warm in the cold when you're out in the cold all the time. So do you have like a home? You're up in Alaska now, but do you have a CONUS home base, so to speak? Like, oh, I'm from this area and I root for these teams, or with all your transient nature, is it just you just claimed Alaska?
Just claimed Alaska. We do have season tickets to the Seattle Kraken. We get down there quite a bit to watch the hockey games. Up here, the Seahawks are the team because they're the ones on TV. But I really don't have a favorite team. I just enjoy watching sports no matter what it is. And of course, now with ESPN Plus and all of that, you can pretty much watch games wherever. So yeah, as long as the game is on, I'm pretty happy.
All right, and Dave has a follow-up to the other question. Are these hats expensive or seal fur hats expensive?
Mine was about $700.
So the answer, Dave, is a resounding yes.
Yes.
All right, so what decided you to go to Portland State? Like, were you guys stationed out in Oregon at the time?
Yep, we were in Oregon there in the Portland area, and when you're that age, you got to go to the cheapest college you can possibly go to, and that was one. So I enrolled down there. I thought I was going to become a veterinarian. I did not want to do that very quickly after I entered. I knew I didn't want to stay inside all day, so I started dog training in the parks of Portland, the little housewives, little rich housewives, if you will, there in the parks. And I would show up with a business card, a leash, and a smile. And as they say, that's how businesses are started. And it pretty much took off. The next summer, I went back out to your neck of the woods to a dog training school. This was in the early 90s. And it was called National Canine. It was a dog training school. I think it was just outside Columbus, if I remember correctly. And became a certified dog trainer and owned a dog training business since then. So I'm going on our 31st year as a dog training business.
Okay. So how far along were you into your education before, up in Portland State, before you just were like, you know what, this isn't going to work. I'm going to do something else. And how did you randomly get in? You just at the park you were walking dogs. How did playing with the dogs in Portland turn into the sled dogs?
Well, I was still in school. Obviously, I had to figure out a way to pay the bills. I was also doing some moonlighting in a rock band. We thought we were going to be the next Nirvana or Alice in Chains or something like that. We can talk about that in a minute, but had to figure out a way to pay for college. So the easiest way back then was as cheap of a business as you could start is what I did. So I did that throughout school. And then my grandfather passed away in 1996, and we did not know in the family that he had a pretty cool spread up in Duluth, Minnesota, this kind of hunting cabin type deal. And he left me the cabin, so I packed up the U-Haul and moved out to Duluth. Had no idea how cold the United States could be until I got there. It was dang cold there back in the day. And we started dog mushing. I got a couple of dogs from a movie I watched called Iron Will, and became a dog musher at that point, and eventually moved to Alaska in 2010.
All right. So did you were kind of sold instantly on the dogs? You just instantly fell in love with these dogs? I mean, it's such a random thing to get into, like when you're in Portland and all that. What was there like a seminal moment where you're like, you know what, me and dogs, we're gonna make this work? How'd you figure that part out? When did it hit you, or was this kind of natural?
It kind of hit me. I was doing some obedience work, kind of high level competition obedience with my dogs, and I was at this show and I met a lady. Her name was Linda, and she said, "Hey, do you know anything about sled dogs?" And I said, "No, not really." And she goes, "Well, I have a dog kennel in the mountains of Georgia." I said, "Well, I would love to come back down and take a look." And so I jumped in my 280Z. This was when I was still in Portland. Jumped in my 280Z, pretty much drove nonstop from Portland, Oregon to there at the Tennessee-Georgia border area, and arrived at her kennel, and she had all these dogs in the kennel, and she said, "Would you like to go for a ride?" I said, "Of course." So she hooked up 8 dogs to this old cart, kind of a modified bicycle looking thing, and we took off through the mountains, and I came home with two Siberian puppies, Rutger and Reich, and they were the start of our dog kennel, and that was in 1995. So that was 30 years ago, coming up real soon.
Okay, now this is a question from livestock. Can you are there any other dogs that can do the sled dog thing? Like, are there any pit bull, wolf, crossbreed type deals, or what's the deal there?
Yeah, I don't know if that would work out very well, a pit bull wolf, but there are plenty of dogs that can do dog mushing. You know, the common ones are the Malamutes and the Siberians and that sort of things. But you know, a lot of people these days are hooking up their dogs to little kick sleds that you can get those on Amazon and just take off through the woods. But yeah, we typically run anywhere from 4 dogs to 15 dogs on our team. So I know we're going to introduce some puppies here in a little bit, but yeah, our dogs are particularly bred for dog mushing. So,
okay. All right. Describe your education before the doctoral stuff. Like, did you finish your bachelor's, or how long did eventually somewhere else, or did you do it remotely? How did you end up finishing when you got involved up in all this? How long did it take you?
So I finished my first bachelor's degree in 1996 from Portland State. I took a long time off. I was going on a school tour with my daughter, Nicole, in 2014-ish. She had just graduated high school, and we went over to UAA, and she says, "I bet I can finish school before you." I said, "I bet you can't." So I re-enrolled in another bachelor's degree on that bet. And I was pretty much in school from August of 2014, nonstop, until just last week. So well over a decade of being in school. So I finished another bachelor's, got my master's in sports management, outdoor sports, and then my doctorate in strategic leadership, which just happened last week.
Okay. So you were, God damn, you were in school for 14 years total? My
16. It took me 6 years to do the first one because I was broke and going to class as less as possible.
Okay, so describe what brought you to Alaska. I read that your friend Herb, said that he wanted to win the Iditarod, and that's what you brought you up there in 2010. Now, first off, did he end up going in there? Did he finish? And explain all that.
Yep. My buddy Hugh Neff, been doing Iditarod for many years. He said, "Hey, come up and handle for me at the Iditarod's ceremonial start here in Anchorage." So I flew up to Anchorage in March of 2010, got him off on the trail. He did probably, 15 Iditarods or something like that. And we were staying at this realtor's house. His name was Dave. And you know how realtors are. They always want to make a deal. So as he was on the trail, I was hooking up with Dave, and he handed me his card, and he says, "Hey, if you're ever interested in buying a house in Alaska, here's my card." So I flew home with the card in my pocket and sat down with my wife, and I said, I would really like to think about moving to Alaska one day. So that was in March. By June, I had already contacted him. We pretty much bought this place where we're sitting in right now, sight unseen. And by August of 2010, I was up here, and it took about a year or so for the family to everybody get up here and start our life up here.
So you didn't even see this place before you bought it. You were just like, here you go, and you got it.
Pretty much, yeah. I saw some pictures of it. I had 3 qualifiers to buy it. It had to have trail access first, fast internet second, electric third, and indoor plumbing fourth, in that order. So yeah, so it had all of those things. We have, I don't know, well over 200 miles of trails right behind us here, and it's a beautiful spot. Yeah, we love it here. A little bit outside of civilization, if you will, about an hour and a half north of Anchorage, and we love it. I know you and I talked earlier about you coming up. You can jump on one of those military flights. Dude, you got to come up and jump on the sled and have a good time. That'd be a heck of a live video for your feed, for sure.
Oh, we're going to get into some of that. Don't worry. I got some questions about that coming up there, 100%. So 20,000 or 2011 and 12, that's when all the family gets up there and the kennels finally built up. And you get the live stream started, it appears. Now, I was up in Anchorage in 2012 with the service.
Yep.
And I remember the locals in the previous winter, that winter of 2011, 2012, was really crazy with the snow and all that. First off, was that true? And do you think there's any chance we randomly ran into each other in July 2012? I went to Coots a lot in Anchorage, and we got kicked out actually at one time. And we also went whitewater rafting in some spot up there. But get into I lost the question here. Oh, the snow that winter, was it really a huge, was that a culture shock in your opinion? Like, just how much snow was up there, or what's the deal with that?
If I remember, that was a really heavy snow year. But what I think about more than not, obviously with my job, is when there's not enough snow. Because, if there's no snow, we obviously can't do what we're doing. But yeah, I think it was deep then. I think that record was broke. I think last year, we had about 12 feet of snow last year. It compacts down, but man, it sure was deep last year. If you just think about how much snow 12 feet is, that's a lot of work shoveling.
Well, I mean, so you're out there with the dogs on the sled, right? Is there too much? Is there snow that's too high that they can't get through, or do you go over the top of the snow? How does that part work?
Well, we definitely pack it down with snow machines and all that, but all of the dogs live outside, so we have to constantly dig out the houses. They're in kind of these square houses, and they're on poles kind of in this area of about an acre and a half or so. So we always are, every snowstorm, we're digging out the houses and making sure they're able to get out and do their thing. And yeah, that was a lot of work. So we were doing more shoveling last year than we were doing running.
Okay. Now, do the dogs, like, when it's not snowing, like, what do these guys do? They just, hey, do you let them in the house and you got 50 dogs running around? What's the deal with, like, the summer?
Nope. In summertime, they're kind of just kicking back. As we say, they're getting fat and ready for the next winter. If you think about it, all of our houses are painted red. So think about Snoopy on the top of a doghouse. That's what they're doing. They're just kicking it there. We do free running and stuff during the summertime. We have a backyard fenced in and all that. But pretty much summer is their time off, because we're going pretty much nonstop from about August till whenever the snow melts, whether that's April, early May, whatever it is.
Okay, so your non-sledding season is not really that much. You got a big snowpack most of the time, it sounds like.
Yeah, we have about 4 or 5 months off, and of course that's when we're doing all of our rebuilding and chores and everything else that goes along with all of this. So it's sort of like farm life, if you will, but with dogs instead.
Okay, and you're like, when they're not, would they want to run all the time? Like, say you were up way north and there was never a break in snow. Would the dogs want to run all the time, or do they need time off? Do they get lazy? Like, what's the deal there?
They do get lazy. Some of them have attitudes, but yeah, they're born to do this. This is not a golden retriever. Obviously, it's not a poodle. These dogs are definitely ready to rock and roll. So as long as you hook them up and are ready to go, they're ready to go. And you'd be surprised just how quick they jump back into it. When we start training up in August, they know exactly what's happening. And it's interesting to see puppies. We put them in a harness at about 6 months. They're ready to go as soon as they get that harness on. It's like, wow, it's like putting on that first football helmet or first jersey you get for Christmas. You put that bad boy on and you think you're going to be the next Walter Payton or whoever.
That's great, man. That's great. So they just, it's 420, everyone in the East Coast, smoke up if you got it. But so it sounds like they just want to get out there, and they're like really like, because I mean, if you got a regular dog, like I used to have dogs, I don't have dogs now, but like they get excited if you like grab a leash and they want to go outside and they just want to do that. It sounds like these dogs are like born with that in them. Is that the case with these sled dogs? Like it's inherently, they just want to pull, they want to run, they want to be out in the snow, they want to have fun. Is that the case?
100%. That's what they're born to do. As they say, born to run, born to pull. That's a name of a book or something out there, and that's what they like to do. So,
okay, all right. So let's talk about the doctoral program you recently finished. Now, was this something you initially set out to do yourself?
Here we go.
You found yourself like, why not? Oh my goodness! Here's the puppies.
Right here.
Puppies.
This is Jekyll. Right here. They're just about a month old, so brand new sled dog puppies. This little guy right here comes from, see if we can get him in this. They've never obviously been on camera, so they're a little shy still, but this is what a sled dog looks like. This is what they're born and bred to do. So that's my little guy. I know you wanted to have some of these guys on camera for sure. We'll bring some more over in a little bit, but we'll put Jekyll down, let him run and play. All right.
What a cutie. What a cutie. So like, well, I just randomly thought of this, but do you have like breeder agreements with like other local, I mean, local is a relative term from a place where you're at, but like, I mean, do you have like other, sled dog teams like, oh, I got this dog here, breed it with your dog, or how do you determine the breeding? I mean, it's probably all registered, I would assume. Do you keep the dogs are in like their own cages, so they don't like get to mingle and breed, stuff like that? How's all that work?
Well, we don't do a lot of breeding here. These guys are just pretty much our last. Let's see if we can get them in camera here. We have not bred a lot of these guys for a long time. So this is Hyde and Kruger, and we got Jekyll back. These are the monster crew, Joe. They were born right around Halloween. So we have Jekyll, Hyde, Kruger, Salem, Pazu, and Ripley. So that's who these guys are. I know I didn't answer your question. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second. So here's 3 of the 6. The other 3 are just straight black. So they're not very good for camera work. But yeah, these guys are ready to go. Here you go, Michelle.
Oh my goodness.
My goodness. So they're just so they're just getting the net ready to walk and talk and do the whole 9. So these guys are just out getting ready to explore and do their thing. So that was Kruger, named after Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street. We are huge scary movie buffs here, but back to your question, do we have breeder agreements? We work pretty much in tandem with a pretty highbrow sled dog kennel. They're called Mackey's Long Distance Sled Dogs. Her nephew Lance Mackey. He's sort of the goat in Iditarod time. He won 4 Iditarods back to back, won several Yukon Quests back to back. Overcame cancer. Was out on the Iditarod with cancer. If you look up Lance Mackey in sled dogs, you'll find out just how much this guy was. But anyway, he passed away a couple years ago. So we get a lot of our dogs from his niece. So really high caliber sled dogs. These are like the top draft picks, if you will, in another sport. These aren't just your run of the mill.
Okay. So you're not doing any of the breeding there. You're just getting it from the sled dog place. Okay.
Yep.
That's good. So let's get back to the doctoral thing. Now, was this something you initially set out to do yourself, or you found yourself like, why not? Or is it something like the school pushed you to get?
It was one of those lifelong things I wanted to finish. And, I'm self-employed, so I didn't need it for a job or anything like that. I just wanted to make sure I could to say that and have that done, sort of that terminal degree, if you will. And I had a lot of fun doing it. I had a really interesting research question that we studied. We studied family business succession. I know that's kind of a boring topic to a lot of people, but when you've been in a small business with your family for your entire life, it's kind of important to know what's going to happen when you retire. So I sort of took that under my research topic and kind of went from there. But it was a long process, but man, I'm glad to be done.
Yeah, that's a lot of education, man. It took me a bit to get mine. I went to some HVAC school for a little bit, and then I only got a 4-year degree. It took about 5 years or so because I only went like 12. You know, it's like a full load's 15. I would go 12. I would go summers every now and then. But I did that. I was in the service too. So like, you know, on the air guard. So but man, I couldn't imagine just keep going and going in education. Now, do you teach this at the school, right? What's the deal there? Did you get hired on to that? Is that a position they made up? How did that work?
Yep, I got hired on. I teach dog mushing at 2 of the local universities, University of Alaska Anchorage and Alaska Pacific University. I think I'm the only college professor in the United States that teaches dog mushing, so that's pretty cool. And we teach it every year. It's 4 college credit, and the kids come out. A lot of these kids have never been out in the backcountry before, you know, typical 18 to 22-year-old kids. And most of the time they are hooked. They're ready to go. And one of the persons that's coming out today, she took my class last year, and we're getting ready to do about a 700-mile trip together in March, up in the backcountry and over the Alaska range and all that. And she's coming out today to do a training run with us.
Okay, good deal. So, like, how many hours would you say you put into this dissertation all total?
Oh my God, I worked on it pretty much every day, nonstop, for well over 2 years. Yeah. So yeah, I spent a lot of time at Starbucks. I think I wrote every paper I ever did at the local Starbucks. Starbucks is 45 minutes away, so I had to drive 45 minutes to go to the Starbucks, and then I found my best writing, if you will, in chaos, the chaos of Starbucks, you know, everybody running around. And, you know, it was just easier for me to do it there than sitting here because, you know, when you're at home, you got other stuff to do. You got sports to watch and sandwiches to make and all that. So if I just go down to Starbucks, plop down $5 for a coffee, that's where I did it. And I would go down there as often as I could just to really just bang it out. And it took a long time, but like I said, it was worth it.
How many pages is the thing?
Over 300.
Man.
And that's after many edits. It would probably be about 500 pages after all, you know, before all the edits. So yeah, it's definitely a huge paper.
Now, isn't that something probably too? You have to like annotate and do all that college looking crap and all that, and cite sources and shit. Wow, that's crazy, dude.
Probably 300 sources, and of course, you had to read every one of those. So, yeah, it was a full-time job almost.
Right. That's why I never really cared about advanced degrees. It's like, you know, I'm not rich, but I'm making an okay living. It's like I go get these advanced degrees, I got to shut off the rest of the world, you know. Oh, like what if my old ass like, oh, let's go to law school? What am I gonna do? Fucking 50 years old, go to law school? Yeah, I gotta shut off the parties and not smoke weed for a year. No, there's no way. It's not happening, man. So shouts out to the people who are out there doing that, because your boy's not gonna do that anymore. So I'm too old for that. Too old for that, bro. All right, so I'm from Cleveland, right? And we have there's this Balto the Wonder Dog. They stuffed him, they put him in the museum on the east side of the Natural History Museum. Great story. You gotta be familiar with this story. Now, did that inspire you at all? And do you have any similar stories, maybe less movie-like, but something where you and the dogs were out and did something that otherwise wouldn't have happened in the universe kind of thing?
Yep, that is Balto was one of the dogs in the serum run. Happened in 1925. They delivered diphtheria to the kids of Nome. They were all getting ready to die from this deadly disease. This was before airplanes, obviously in the middle of nowhere. So they had to figure out how to get the vaccine, if you will, from Anchorage to Nome. So they took off on this relay going from this part of the state all the way to Nome in the middle of nowhere. And Balto was one of the main dogs. Everybody knows the story of Balto and Togo. So that's the serum run. So in 2020, for my master's degree, my thesis was to recreate the serum run. And we went out and did that trip. in 2020. And by far, the coldest I've ever been in my life was in the middle of the Yukon River, 50 below zero in overflow, which is open water on one of the largest rivers in the country. We were this deep in water. So overflow is overflow. So you have the ice underneath where water, melts down on top. So we could not see it, but we were just going through this day after day after day. And here we were on the middle of the Yukon River, 50 below zero in one Arctic oven tent, 12 of us, because we did not bring enough tents. It could have easily been a disaster. Somebody definitely could have died during that time, but we all made it through and nobody died. And that was a recreation of the serum run. So yeah, by far, that's sort of the backing story for what we do. That's the inspiration for Iditarod, all of that. But yeah, we've been there, we've done that. We definitely know Balto. Togo, the other lead dog, is in Iditarod headquarters, about 25 miles to our south. They have him stuffed, and as they do. So he's down there. Here we are.
No, I just randomly thought of this, but like when say you did have a disaster, do you got like a satellite phone, or what's the emergency communications procedures?
Yep, we had sat phones. We had little satellite connectors called inReaches that will connect. You can push the SOS button, and maybe somebody will show up. You never know because you're in the middle of nowhere. But we didn't get that far. Since we were a relatively large group, we were okay. But I mean, obviously, in the middle of Alaska, in the middle of winter, it's no joke. People get in trouble all the time.
Oh, I can't even imagine, man. Now, speaking of long distance dog runs, it's rumored that someday you would like to be in the Iditarod. Now, for those viewers who may not know, what is the Iditarod?
The Iditarod pays homage to that serum run that I was just talking about. It's about 1,000-mile run from Anchorage to Nome. It happens the first week of March every year, and it takes about a week and a half, 2 weeks to get there. That's the main reason why we moved up here. I was chasing that crazy Iditarod dream. My daughter ended up doing the junior Iditarod a couple of times as a teenager before she went off to do her thing and eventually came back. But the oldest rookie, Joe, was 74. So I still have about 20 years before I'm the oldest rookie. So as long as I'm still younger than that person, I think we'll at some point in future we'll get there.
I was going to ask, what would it take for you financially and physically for you to be able to do something like this? Like, do you and your pups have it in them right now, or is this something you got to physically train for? How does that kind of thing work?
Yep. These 6 pups have the potential if we wanted to take them that way. If we started training up right now, we could probably do that. You do have to qualify. It's about a year-long qualifying process. You got to run qualifying races and all of that. And then once you do that, then you can register for the following year. So if I wanted to run it in, say, 26, I would have to qualify in 25. Okay. And then in terms of cost, since we're not starting from scratch or anything, I think we could probably do it for, I don't know, 25, 30 grand. So it's not cheap, but not as expensive as somebody that's starting from nothing.
All right. Now describe your entrance into the online realm. Now I read you started a podcast in like 2009 or so, if I read right. What decided you to get into digital stuff? And out of curiosity, what is your internet connection?
All right. So we started podcasting in January of 2009. We've never missed a week. We're DogWorks Radio. It's a dog training show. We started that at our dog training center in Denver. We would have our group classes on Saturday mornings, and we were in an old vet office for our office. So we'd have all of our group students sitting in the lobby, and we'd set up a couple of mics, and we would ask questions. Hey, why does my dog pull on the leash? Why is my dog jumping on grandma? Whatever. And we would have our clients come up and we would tell them the answers. And then we just did that. We put it on live on an old thing called Blog Talk Radio. Back in the day, that was the spot to be. And that's where it started off. And like I said, we've never missed a week. It took a long time to reach those milestones that everybody's chasing after that first 1 million downloads and all of that. And it took a long time to do that. Then, of course, we started YouTube and, a couple of YouTube channels and too many podcasts and way too many blog sites. You know how it goes. Once you start and that ad revenue starts coming in, it's tough to turn it off. And I love doing it, but yeah, it's a big task, as you know.
For sure. So what's your internet? Is it like Starlink, or how do you get internet so far out there? What is the deal?
Oh, right now, remember, one of my qualifications was high-speed internet to move here. So, yep. So we still have an old school fiber optic internet. So fast for us is still very slow. I mean, it would be like about as slow as you can get down in your area. But that's what we have. We tried Starlink, but Starlink has to have a view of the northern sky, and since we're so far north, like our direct TV dish points down instead of up. Like your guys' satellites will point up. Ours are almost level. So Starlink did not work because we're just surrounded by woods and trees. So that didn't work well. I remember buying our Starlink and get so excited to get it. It took like a year to get it. And that bad boy arrived in the middle of winter. So I had it just sitting in the box for over a year. And I took it out in the summer and I hooked that bad boy up, and it could not find a signal anywhere. So not only did I spend the $600 on the Starlink, but I paid for service for a year as well before I ever turned it on, because it was in the middle of winter. And it did not work. So I quickly sold that on Marketplace and went back to what we have. And, here we are. And it's all right. Fast enough to do live streaming. So I guess we're okay.
That's all. I used to have really slow internet when I first started, because I used to like, hey, kids, don't watch the TV when we're on the show, But yep. then I realized, like, I was only like, I was still with AT&T at the time. It was like 3 MPS or something. It was so slow. Then I right after that, I got into I don't know what the fuck it is. I think it's Breeze Line now. And it's so much. I mean, it goes out every now and then, but it's so, I have fast internet. Like you said, if I'm ever going anywhere, I get miserable if I don't have access to I can make it work. Like if we go camping with the scouts or something, and a lot of those places don't have internet, you just make it work. And sometimes it's refreshing to be like, on a day-to-day, if I'm just sitting around, I go, I need my internet, man. It's one of those things. Things, bro.
You're talking about 3 MPS. Our fastest internet's like 20 right now.
Okay, jeez. Yeah, that's very early.
It's like 200.
Love it. All right, this is a question from Mustang. Do you ever get any pushback from PETA over sled dogging?
Yep. That's our enemy for sure. Like anything else, there's two sides to every story. So, yep, we're very cognizant about that. And, there's good actors and bad actors in anything. And, since we work with the universities, we got to be pretty tight on what we do. Our kennel has to be clean and all of that. But yeah, that's our enemy, if you will.
Oh, have you ever ran? It's not like you guys are in New York City. I mean, it's hard to get up to where you're at. I mean, do you guys ever run into any at the university, any kind of protests at all, or is that just stuff you read, or how does that work?
There's a lot of protesting during Iditarod. They come up and hold up signs and do all that stuff. They're looking for a platform. Any type of deal, no matter what it is, good or bad, you're just looking for a platform, and that's when they are most active. And unfortunately, there's been some bad stuff happen in any walk of life, and that's just adding fuel to the fire. But you just got to keep your head down and do what you do best, and most of the time nobody will mess with you.
Agreed. All right, now it's no clue that you are really into your wife. Not that this is a bad thing. All right. Now describe how you guys initially met, and what will she be doing when you're doing the Iditarod?
Okay. All right. Good question. Starting back to Minnesota, if you will. This is in 1999. We were on a chat room on Saturday afternoon on Yahoo, and I'm sitting there as we did in 99, sitting on the chat rooms. And this woman popped in and she says, "Is there anybody on here that can teach my dog how to pull my kids in a wagon?" And I chimed in and said, "Yep, I can do that. I'm a dog musher." And she said, "Like Iron Will?" I said, "Yep, like the movie Iron Will." And she said, "Oh my God, can you teach us that?" I said, "Well, how about I fly out and hook you up with the weekend? You know how it goes back in the day." And so I flew out to Denver, met her and the kids, and over about a year or so later, we were married, and here we are. I don't know, what is that, 25, 26 years later, still married and going strong. What will she be doing during Iditarod? Probably sitting here on the computer watching the little dot go across the screen. Yep, beep, 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 beep. just hitting refresh over and over. But she is our logistics person. Anytime we're doing trips or anything, she's the one, doing the Facebook and, doing the updates and all that, making sure everything's good. So you got to have those support systems to do any type of trip, and she's that person.
Okay. Now, are you two interchangeable on the sled? Like, how does that work? Can anybody be a sled dog musher with the proper equipment and training?
Anybody can, for sure. She doesn't run as much as she used to. We were just out yesterday, and I said, "Hey, how about you jump on the sled?" She said, "Nope, not this time. Maybe next time." But yeah, she has plenty of miles under the runners for sure. But I think she would rather sit in the warm house and do the logistics stuff.
Okay. Now, anyone in your experience ever get up there like they're really into it, but then they really felt the cold and they're like, "Nope, I can't do this anymore"?
Oh yeah, yep. I was working for a guy. We were kennel partners my first year up here. This is kind of an interesting story. So we had this guy from Indiana, so your neck of the woods, young kid. He was our handler. He was the guy that helped us out. And my buddy, his name was Paul, and it was a Saturday afternoon. We hooked up 2 dog teams, took off. We were gone for most of the day. So we pulled in, and the handler's job obviously is to do the handlers, thinking about pit crew and NASCAR. So we're unhooking the dogs and feeding them and doing all that. And we're saying, "Hey, where's Austin? Where the heck is this kid at?" Right? So we're looking around, just kind of in passing. And then we get done and we go into the little handler apartment. It was over at his place, and everything was gone. It was all packed up. The bed was made and the dude was gone. And little did we find out, not too long later, we get a text from his sister and said, "Hey, Austin's hitchhiking from here in Willow to Anchorage. He has a flight later on." So he just packed up and left in the middle of the afternoon without saying anything.
That's awesome. Packed up, said, "Fuck this shit, I'm done, buddy." All right, so you're one of the few people I met in real life before I had him on the show. Now, one, tell the people who have never met me how I party in real life. Am I not a freaking badass? I'm pretty good at partying, right? We have a good time out there.
Yeah, we had a good time. We met this August at Podcast Movement in DC. You and I have a good buddy together, Jared Easley. That dude there, he knows everybody, I think, in the podcasting space. And it was fun to hang out with you. We had dinner together with another mutual friend, Donald. I think we had a good time there, drank a couple of beers and hung out there in the nation's capital.
There's a good view at that hotel, man, at National Harbor. I like that view. That's a nice spot. I might bring the family out there sometime. That's a good area. I really thought it was a cool spot, man. And we forgot to take a selfie. We got to do that next time we meet up.
Yep.
And all that being said, you travel quite a bit. What are some of your favorite places to go to just outside of Alaska?
Oh man, I've been all over the place. We went down to Belize a couple of years ago, and we thought, man, that was going to be the spot. And it was cool and all. The beach was okay. It was just typical beach, but we spent about 5 days in the rainforest of Belize. And that was probably the coolest spot. It was right on the border of El Salvador and Belize. And, you were truly in the jungle. You had the howler monkeys that would scream at night. And, we were in this treehouse thing, and it was awesome. It was very cool to hang out down there.
Oh, yeah. I've never been to Central America. I've been to Honduras. And the forest down there, it gets so hot down there, though. I can't, I dealt with it because I was there, but I liked Virgin Islands is probably my tropical spot. There's probably some other spots in the Caribbean I would like to go to, but I could deal with the heat if it's by the ocean, but just regular heat, it gets a little rough, especially that humid heat. And Arizona was okay because it was real dry and stuff. And at night it get really nice, even in the winter and whatnot. But man, that Honduran heat, it's just so crazy hot, dude. I don't know how those people live. Fuck.
Yeah. Luckily, we were down there in early April, so I think it was before the heat of the summer. And it was nice. I mean, well, it was nice to us because, we're coming from out of winter. So we're like chameleons. We're trying to heat up from the winter. But it was nice down there. I was just in Phoenix this past week, and it was beautiful. It was 70 degrees, and I was in a T-shirt and shorts. And the guy at the parking lot, he was in 4 layers, he said. And I said, "What are you doing, dude?" He said, "Man, we're not used to being this cold." I said, "How cold is it?" He said, "Oh, it's 68 degrees this morning." He had on gloves and a freaking beanie and everything in Phoenix. But yeah, I've been around, and there's lots of good places to go. But get out there and travel if you can. You know, that's where you see life, is to travel a little bit.
No, it's great. I love it. Love it. All right, have you seen the Simpsons movie? And if so, is that must viewing for every Alaskan?
I cannot say I have seen that. No, I haven't.
You gotta watch the Simpsons movie. There's a great part where he moves the family up to Alaska. Just watch the Alaska part, Lisa. You don't have to watch the whole movie. Just watch the Alaska part. It's great. You're gonna love it.
All right.
You're gonna love it. All right. Now, is there any movie? What movie would you say most accurately depicts sled dogging or mushing?
Like I said, the movie Iron Will is a good one that it came out in the early 90s. It's kind of the Disney feel-good type movie, but if you want to learn about dog mushing, that's the one.
Okay. Is there any movie that sticks out that really annoys you on the topic? Like this, they depicted this really bad or just unrealistic kind of thing?
Not necessarily on that topic, but pretty much any reality show about Alaska is 100% fake. Yeah, they always say we're 5 days from food and all of that. And I remember there was one very popular reality show on TV, and they said, "Oh, if we don't kill a moose, we aren't going to eat for dinner for the next year." And we knew exactly where they lived, and they were only like 3 miles from a Safeway. So so you know how it goes. So they get out there, and it's all fake in the reality TV world.
Oh, yeah, I had on years ago, a couple years ago. I holler at him every now and then. This guy Rick Yum from Ice Road Truckers, he was telling me the same stuff. Like most of the shit's just all made up. There's no realistic in it all. Well, that being said, like, how far are you from major shit? I mean, you obviously got your property, and then like, is there a main road that goes by? I mean, how far does it take you to get to the main road? What's the deal there?
Yep. The highway is about a mile to my right. That is called the Parks Highway. So that goes from Anchorage up to Fairbanks and then goes up onward to Dead Horse, that ice road that you're talking about. We have driven that. Very interesting drive to go up there. But we are about 30-ish miles from the grocery store, a big grocery store, Fred Meyer's, which is, that sort of thing. And then everything else, same. That's the town. That's Wasilla. Anybody that knows anything about Sarah Palin back in the day, that's where she lived. And that's where the restaurants are and all of that.
Okay. Now you've mentioned the ability to house people if we come visit up there. Now,
Yep.
What is the maximum amount of people I could come up there with and have a sled dogging party that wouldn't like completely inconvenience you?
Well, we've had 12 college students sleeping right behind me in this room on the floor. So we've housed quite a few people here, and we can make it happen.
All right. So listen, guys, if you're out there and we'll make this, I mean, realistically not this winter, but if we band up, we could all get out to Alaska, man, and we can figure it out. I mean, the most realistic way would be like you were talking about earlier, the military hop. But, that runs into the delays of, when do they run it? Not guaranteed a spot kind of thing. So realistic. And we have another friend up in Alaska. Her name's Sam Lee. She's here on YouTube. And she lives, I want to say Anchorage, somewhere in there. I mean, it's a big area, probably hour
Yep.
or so from here, I would guess.
Yep.
But if we get up there, we'll definitely pick up Sam on the way and then go there. But how far are you from the dispensary? And can we stop off there on the way from the airport if you come pick us up?
There are plenty of those. The closest one from here is about 10 miles.
Oh, that's perfect. That's freaking perfect, Robert. I love this.
Yeah.
So this is going to happen. If I'm being realistic, unless we get a cast influx in here soon, we're probably looking at 2026, maybe that winter, maybe next winter we can hook this up. But we're definitely gonna come up there because, dude, think about that, guys out there. If you guys like traveling, man, think about going up to Alaska and hanging out with some sled dogs. You'll probably let us stream, probably give us the internet code, for a little bit, as long as we don't abuse it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It'd be baller. We're gonna do this. We're gonna make this shit happen.
We are typically, it's about $99 from Seattle, the flight. So it's pretty cheap to jump on a flight from Seattle.
Okay.
And they travel to Alaska from Seattle probably 15 times a day. So that's our public transportation is from here to Seattle, right? Is up and back, right? But if you can get to Seattle, whether it be on Southwest or whatever, man, it's easy. We're about a 3-hour flight from Seattle to Anchorage, and then we're about an hour and a half from door to door from the Anchorage airport to where we're at. So it's not very far. We do it all the time.
Perfect. All right, guys, some questions coming in. Mustang asks, how far are you from the pipeline?
We are from the pipeline itself. Our closest access to it is probably about 300 miles to Fairbanks. It runs right through the town of Fairbanks. So it goes from up north, as you were talking about, Ice Road Truckers, Proto Bay, the Dead Horse area, runs all the way through the state down to Valdez. And we're pretty much right there, a couple hundred miles from it.
Okay. And we talked about Ice Road Truckers earlier. You say all reality shows are fake, but what is your take on Ice Road Truckers? Did you like that show?
We went on that drive because of that show. We did it in the summertime. We took our FJ Cruiser up there. It was about 1,000-mile trip. We drove up there just to go to the Arctic Ocean and, spent the night in one of the camps up there. Everything's way too expensive, but yeah, it may be fake in terms of the storyline, but that road is no joke, whether you're doing it in the summer or the winter.
Okay. Yeah, I've never. What's the first? Have you been to? Was it Barrow? Have you been? How far north have you been?
That's a little bit to the west of Dead Horse. So the furthest place you can go is Dead Horse, Prudhoe Bay, where all the oil refineries are up there at the start of the pipeline. So we've been to both places there. That's about as far as you can go in the United States. There is Dead Horse, Alaska.
Okay. My buddy Drew was in the Navy. He was stationed in Adak. He spent 3 winters there. Okay. That's good. Yep. Yeah, I was up there in 2000, in the summer of 2000. I was up there. Both times we're at Anchorage Airport. They call it J Bear now, Joint Base Alaska, or Joint Base Elmendorf Richardson.
Yep.
But I was there in 2000 and 2012. It was a good time. I liked it, man. I really like Alaska.
Yep.
Now you must have some race experience yourself. Is there like a circuit like NASCAR? You talk about you had to qualify. Is that like an open? And can anybody with sled dog just enter the qualifiers to qualify? They did it. How does that work?
Yep, there's really 2 different types of racing. There's sprint racing. Sprint racing is typically the number of dogs you have is the number of miles. So if you have 6 dogs running 6 miles, 8 dogs, 8 miles, whatever, those go on every weekend from about now to about March. So entirely different dog, entirely different gear, everything. So that is truly, like track and field and Olympics. Whereas the long distance or mid distance mushing is what we're talking about. Iditarod. Same thing going on, but those races are between 200 and 300 miles or so. Again, different type of dogs. The dogs that you guys saw earlier, those are long distance dogs. So a little bit heavier, a little bit furrier, your typical looking husky, with the pointed ears and all of that. Whereas the sprint dogs, they most look like pointers, like German short-haired pointers. So a much thinner, leaner dog.
All right. What do these dogs eat when they're at home, and what do they eat when they're out in the trail?
So we have a dog food bill of about $2,000 a month only for dog food. So it's a very expensive endeavor. We have 30-ish sled dogs now with this new crew, probably closer to 40 sled dogs out there. Very expensive to feed. We feed what I call gruel. It looks like a very thick beef stew. So we add kibble and raw meat and water and sometimes supplements and fish and all sorts of stuff to their diet, and that's what they're eating. Out on the trail, we add snacks. Typically, we'll add beaver. We slice up beaver into about Snicker bar size pieces. That has a tremendous amount of fat to it. And then we feed them salmon. We cut the salmons just in slices, like salmon steaks, and we'll just throw a piece of salmon to them every couple hours out on the trail, and that's their snack. Otherwise, they're eating about, during a race, probably 10,000 calories a day.
Oh, geez. That sounds about like my diet right now. I'm just kidding. 10,000. Do you remember that Michael Phelps? Do you watch Saturday Night Live? Do you remember that Michael Phelps sketch, the Michael Phelps diet? It's like, oh, you could eat 15,000 calories or 15,000 calories a day. And they showed the people doing it and they just died. It was great.
Yeah.
I was gonna think there was another question I was gonna ask in that line. I can't remember now.
You're talking
about the music stuff. This is hard right from that. But you were in a band back in the day. What kind of band was it? What kind of musical interests do you like?
That was more of a grunge band. Our band was called Rainmaker. We played in all the clubs and bars and everything. This is early 90s in Portland, Oregon. We were only 150 miles from the mecca of grunge, with Pearl Jam and Nirvana, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, all of those guys. So we emulated a lot of their stuff. We did a lot of original stuff. And man, I wish we had some of that stuff now. That was way before internet days. That was, before all of that. And, we thought we were going to be the next big thing. And I remember sitting down, we were at this tour in Florida, and because we would hang out there in the winters, of course. And I remember meeting with this record guy, and they said, "Hey, are you interested?" and everybody except for me was ready to go. And I said, no, because you're going to take all of our stuff and we're going to get nothing. So I foolishly said we were not interested in signing. And I don't know where it would have ended up from there, but yeah, we loved it. And, yeah, it was a good time to be alive back in the early 90s, I guess.
All right. Now, what is your favorite airline that you've been on, and what is your least favorite airline?
I went on Southwest for the first time just a couple of weeks ago, and a little bit different than most of them. I've flown about 500,000 miles in the last few years on Alaska. So I don't know if they're my favorite, but they're our go-to. They are our local airline. Probably my least favorite. We went on Spirit one time. God, that was awful. Frontier used to be cool, but now it's awful.
My son hates Spirit. He refused. Like, they charge him for food. He just refuses to go on it.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
And what did you do? Were you a singer? What did you play on the in the band?
I played everything except keyboard. So I played bass, guitar, a little bit of drums, a little bit of singing, a little bit of all of it. Just never figured out the keyboard.
Okay. Now, when was the last time you were at the zoo?
Last time I was at the zoo, it's been a while, probably. Well, we went to the zoo when we were in Belize, so 3 years ago.
All right. What no, out there in the trail, what sorts? I mean, you see a bunch of wildlife, I'm assuming. You see a bunch of grizzlies. Like, are grizzlies at your house like daily? Do you got to like grizzly proof everything? What's the deal there?
We do not see grizzlies out on the trail because they're hibernating during the winter, but we also are beekeepers. The bees are right over to my left. Our dogs are just right to the forward of us, and we have usually anywhere from 2 to 10 beehives, and we've never had bears come in and get the honey. And I think because we have sled dogs, they get spooked off by having all those dogs here. I have seen quite a few moose out on the trail. I remember one quick story I could tell. We were out on a training run, probably 30 miles or so from here, and I was cruising down the trail pretty much at dusk, and all of a sudden, all of the dog's ears went back, so I knew something was happening. Pretty deep snow year, and right out of the corner of my eye, I see a moose just barreling at us, and he just leaps over the dog team and keeps on going, and it scared the bejesus out of me.
The moose are wild, man. We saw a couple just in the river. You see the mom moose with the baby moose, and they're just doing it. Sam Lee, this is the girl right here. She lives in down south of you. She's the one you got to hook up with.
Okay.
She's on my friends list. Definitely follow her YouTube channel as well, because you guys can do some stuff out there. Before we get out of here, because we only got a couple more minutes. If I were to tell you Beatles or Queen, who would you pick out of those two bands?
Queen.
Okay. Popular answer with some, not so much with others. We'll see.
Yep.
We'll see. All right. And what kind of cars do you got?
2 FJ Cruisers, a Jeep Gladiator. I think you saw a picture of my Jeep Gladiator sled dog Jeep. That is our YouTube channel. We do a lot of stuff there. I have a Toyota Tundra and an old Jeep Wrangler, a 1990. And my daily driver is a RAV4 just because it gets good gas mileage.
Okay. And before we got a question. Do you have sponsors for like the team and all that? Like dog food sponsors, anything like that?
We have in the past, but since I'm not doing a lot of racing right now, we don't have any sponsors, but I would be welcome to anything.
All right, before we get rolling here, can we see one more look at a puppy?
Michelle, can we see one more puppy? We're getting ready to end. Yep, she'll go get one real quick. Otherwise, hey, Joe, it was a pleasure. I am glad that we're able to connect with this. Hopefully your fans enjoyed it a little bit. I'm looking forward to meeting up again. Are you planning to go to the next podcast movement? It's down in Dallas.
I probably not, because I don't think Jared's going to work for those guys as of the beginning of the year. So I think my employment would probably be stopping there. If I was to guess, I'm not 100% sure on that, but because I only did the one. It was just out of the blue, and then Jared said he's not with those guys anymore. So all right, ladies and gentlemen, check out the puppy.
Hold on. This dog right here, Jared, or Joe, this dog here, she's kind of scruffy right now, but she is related to Balto and Togo. This is a Sepala Siberian. Her name is Isolt. Got her from Maine. She's my baby. She stays in the house with us. Not all of them stay in the house, but she is the house dog, if you will. But she goes all the way back to those original Siberians from 1920s, 1930s. That's one of my cool dogs. What was the question before you said?
Oh, shit. I don't remember now. Oh,
Hey,
well,
we got a couple of minutes. I got to talk to you a little bit about sports because I know you're a huge.
oh yeah. Love me some sports. Love me some sports.
We can go on a little bit. I'm going to hijack your show a little bit and talk about sports.
Totally.
I know you're a huge Browns fan. I see the Nick Chubb jersey there. I know you go to a lot of games. Yep, I know you go to the Cavs games, the whole 9 yards. You guys have the sports mecca up there in Cleveland. You guys might not be very good, but that's the space to go, isn't it?
Well, the stadium itself is kind of weird because, like, if you look back at the old stadium, I mean, it was a dump, but it was like our dump, and the team was good. They weren't winning the Super Bowl, obviously, but they were good, and it was like when the team was good, the stadium, the dump, we just made it work. It was fun. We could do anything we wanted there. I mean, the legend has it these guys would bring in a big doghouse, and it would take 6 of them to carry it in, but only 2 of them to carry it out. They're putting a keg in there, and just drinking a keg through the whole game. It was that kind of lawlessness. And then when the team left, and you got to get the time, it was 1999. They were thinking about all this crap we did at Dog Pound, all this violent stuff we did. And they made it to a point where it just wasn't like, it wasn't our place anymore. It was a corporate place. They weren't really taking into account and a lot of that was just the way society changed. A lot of the blue collar stuff. Back in the day, it was tough blue collar union jobs, guys, steel workers going on the game, rough and tumble having it. Now it's, here's some jackass with their kids or some, yuppie person who's just going because their mom got season tickets or some stupid shit like that. And it's not the grittiness of it. I mean, the gritty fans are still there, but we're all old. It's like you go to an electricians union hall party, and it's probably a bunch of fucking 60-year-olds now. That's how it is with the Browns fans. This younger generation just got lost. I mean, 25 years of losing does that to you. But I mean, you can't up here. Football is just life, man. It's just what you do in the year. And like we're 3-8 right now. We're probably out of it for all intents and purposes. 0.5% chance to go to playoffs, but we're still holding on to these hope. I'm still playing it for games. I mean,
you have season tickets to the Browns?
Yeah, I got season tickets, man. I got season tickets. It's been my 5th year of season tickets. I've had in the past to the Cavs, and I've had in the past to the Tribe, the Indians. But I mean, that's a lot of baseball, a lot of basketball. I mean, like because I had the full season package for the Cavs, and it was 41 games, and that was just a lot, man. That's I mean, you think about that throughout a year, I mean, just that 6 month period, 40. That's like fucking 1/6 of the 1/5 of the year. It's a lot of basketball, a lot of games to go to. So the football worked good. The football worked good because it was only once a week, and it's weird because like every year the value goes down. Like it's like because like last week that Steelers game, that snow game was a really fun game. But right up until the game time, you can buy tickets for like $20. These tickets I'm buying are $90. It's but it's just what you do and have fun, man. It's really cool.
Where are your seats? Are they upper level, lower level? Where?
Yeah, I'm in the upper level. I'm in section 511. So if you're looking at, pretend this is the dome, right? Or this is the stadium. I'd be like up here about 15, 20-ish yard line, go looking that way. It's not too bad. They're right on the aisle, which I like. They're so cramped though, man. I'm a really big guy. Like I'm 6'3", so like it's, and my buddy Mike is right next to me, and he's about 6 foot, probably about my height, 250 in the weight. The guy next to me, nice kid, he's a real nice dude, but he's 6'5". So I'm just sitting here like this. I get about freaking 3 whole square feet of real estate, trying to watch a game. So it's like it gets a little cramped. So I don't know. I tell myself every year, oh fuck it, I'm not doing it. And then I get roped in again. So we'll see. I'll probably end up doing it.
So my last question for the Browns there. What do you guys got to do to turn the corner? Are you guys getting a new stadium? What's the future look like for you guys?
Oh yeah, they're building a new stadium. The dome's going to happen. They bought this property already in Brook Park, Ohio, which is right out. It abuts the city. It's not like you're moving miles and miles away. It's literally like Cleveland's here, Brook Park's here, kind of deal. And it's going to happen. I mean, I don't know. By then, I would imagine I'm priced out. I mean, I can't imagine them building a $1.5 billion, whatever the fuck it's going to cost, probably by then $3 billion stadium. And, having guys like me be able to afford tickets, at least every ticket. I mean, could I? I don't know. I mean, I probably could if I would have sacrificed some shit here or there. But, I mean, if we follow the trajectory, Robert, of new stadiums when they build them, and look at the SoFi Stadium down in LA. That's a perfect example. Spent how many billion on it? I know why it's opulent, so they can have the Olympics and all that. But what happens is they have that initial year where everybody buys the tickets, but after that, the prices level off and they just drop to nothing. It's like $20, $30, go to the game. We went down to go see the Rams and Browns down in SoFi. And it was only it was face value for the tickets, like $80. It's nothing. It was great.
What about players? What do you got to do? I know you guys have had issue after issue of quarterbacks and everything. What's the future look like? Who's going to be the savior? I mean, you've had Baker and everybody down there.
Personally, I think I really like Jameis Winston right now, like too. I know he's a bit of a head case, but we like that up here. We like that, not quite there kind of thing, just gets the job done, quirky kind of stuff. And I think if they give a commitment to Jameis, I think you can get it done. Will they? Because they still got Deshaun on there. I don't realistically think Deshaun's going to play next season. I mean, at that point, you're just going to chalk it and whatever, and he won't play in the 2026 season either. You just kind of work around it, and it can be done. You can do creative cap work, and I'm hoping that they just roll with Jameis and draft a couple offensive linemen and roll like that. Because if not, I mean, I don't want to draft another quarterback and go through another 3 years of this. We got talent on the defense. There's talent there. There's playmakers on offense. I mean, Cedric Tillman's good. Jerry Jeudy's looking to be an awesome wide receiver. David Njoku, he's a beast over the middle. Nick Chubb still got some gas in the tank. I mean, you got a couple years left on the guards. Wyatt Teller and Joel Bitonio are getting up there. But, I mean, you still got a good probably 2 years on the line at least. So, I mean, if you want to make it happen, you could do it with supplementing the line through the draft, through free agency. I think they can make it happen. I don't know, though. I mean, I say that every year. We'll see. It seems to be – I mean, it seems to be –
maybe somebody like Travis – what is his name? Travis Hunter from Colorado. He's going to be a high draft pick.
I don't think we're going to draft first overall. I think we'll win a couple games. I mean, ideally, I like to win out. Well, realistically, will we do that? Probably not. I probably think it's going to be, we'll probably end up 6-11, something like that. Probably picking, 10th, whatnot. But I would imagine they go maybe line, offensive line, something like that. Because we need a new tackle. I mean, the guy, that Jed Wills guy we got, he sucks. And DeJuan Jones he's still okay, but he's a project. And the other guy's injury prone, so we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, we're not getting Carson back. That's not happening. I mean, you get not after that, man. Not after that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, before we go, do you have anything else to promote, and how do people get a hold of you?
You can find me anywhere on social. Just search Robert Forto, Forto. I know you're going to link us up to our YouTube channel. We're there. We're much more active on our Jeep channel. Sled Dog Jeep is the name of that. Otherwise, I just look forward to staying connected to you, Joe, and however we can promote each other, we will do that. And I'm glad we're able to hook up in Washington. And here we are just a few months down the line right here on your live.
Yes, sir. And for those who just joined us, Angie and Sam and all that, plan for a Alaska excursion here at some point, because Robert said we could all crash up there and we'll have a blast with some sled. I mean, that's a unique opportunity that, that's why I'm glad I met you, because there's some things that you could provide in life that I never would have known, so it's a great opportunity. So stay tuned for the edibles in the Great White North. It's gonna be great, man.
Let's do it. Best time, Joe, is March. March is
okay. March is the best time.
Plenty of snow. So if the kids are on spring break, that's a perfect time to come up. So think about it, whether it's 25, well, obviously 26 would be the best, but looking forward to it.
Hell yeah. All right. Thanks, Robert. And we'll see you guys later. We'll talk to you next. I'm working on somebody for next Friday. I can't remember. I can't remember the name. Reticulite hippie or something like that. She's on you. I'll link it once I get her name and everything. But thanks for coming out, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.